I haven't really bitched about something in a while, so I'm going to bitch about something that really needs to be bitched about, and it has nothing to do with politics or urban survival or people in general. It's about that shitty-ass operating system called Linux. I've tried it in a few variations. I've tried Ubuntu, Kubuntu, I've tried Fedora, I even tried Red Hat a while back, and it just led me to the conclusion that Linux is nothing but garbage. It's made by a bunch of half-wit fucking computer programmers who claim that by making it do a few stupid tricks, it's superior to Windows. Yeah, I've seen the barrel interface, and that's pretty neat. I mean, yeah, you taught Linux to do a really neat trick. The problem is, from what I've read, and from all the other people that who wrote on it, that it's not very easy to install. Hey, that comes pre-installed with Windows. But I'm not going to compare apples and oranges here. I'm going to point out some of the flaws with your shitty-ass operating system. Let's go back to Ubuntu. That seems to be the most prevalent one nowadays. Excuse me for all the people out there who use SUSE and Mandriva and Red Hat and Fedora and what other variations you've got out there. Your operating system isn't worth a shit, and I'll tell you why. One, it's difficult to use. It's clumsy and awkward and very unfamiliar to people. Yeah, I can hear it now, some of you people out there saying with that, coming back with that lame-ass excuse, well, Linux isn't for everyone. Well, who the fuck is it for? I mean, you're not doing a very good job of getting people to migrate en masse from Windows over to Linux. And why would that be? Because, like I said, it's clumsy, it's awkward, it's difficult to work with. I mean, who the fuck wants to learn a whole new programming language to run their operating system? And, oh, sure, you can get all the help you want online, but you got to go sifting through it. You shouldn't have to get help to use your fucking operating system. I mean, every little thing in there should be graphic user interface. Okay? Every little thing. You should never have to open up the terminal window. And I mean that sincerely. Because if you got to start going there making all these funky-ass commands, you know, that's not very user-friendly now, is it? Now, how the hell are you going to get all these people migrating from Windows over to Linux if it's so goddamn hard to use? I'm going to go into the problems I have with Hardy Heron release. I mean, that was a fucking joke. Right? I got a hard drive just specifically to put Linux on. Okay, so I got Linux on this hard drive, and it's the Hardy Heron release of Ubuntu. And come find out, I couldn't get online because I didn't have the drivers. Now that's where it really got interesting. You see, on the live CD, you could install NDIS wrapper. But for some strange reason, you idiots fucking left out that little ability from the actual install. Oh wait, you can go online and get the instructions on how to install NDIS wrapper from the CD, but I couldn't get online to begin with. Now here's where it got interesting. So I swapped out the hard drive, put in my Linux, not my Linux, but my Windows Vista drive, and downloaded the NDIS wrapper package and the Windows driver. So it was for the Athros chipset. So I put it on a separate little hard drive, on a little micro SD drive, swapped out back into the Linux, and tried to install the NDIS wrapper. Well, come find out, some of the package dependencies weren't satisfied, so yeah, I had to write down, make a note of what they were. So swap it out, go back to Vista, get online again, download these packages, put them on a separate little drive, okay, swap out hard drives again to the Linux drive, install these other packages, but goddamn, these packages were depending on other packages. And anyway, this went back and forth like 5 times, and I shit you not, it took me 4 hours to get this shit done. Finally, I got it installed. I finally got online. Then I had trouble installing those goddamn NVIDIA drivers. Oh, now for all you people out there who are having trouble with the NVIDIA drivers, as far as, you know, blurry fonts and eye strain, you're not alone. See, the NVIDIA drivers are garbage. ATIs are even worse. So they're blurry, they're hard to read, and yes, they do cause eye strain. Evidently, NVIDIA really doesn't give a shit about the Linux release. And here's another problem. There are so many variations of Linux, they can't keep up with it. Because they all act differently. So because the Linux open source community so unfocused and undeveloped, uncoordinated. The corporations, the people who make money on this shit, just put out some half-ass driver because it's not worth their time, and that's because of the Linux community. But anyway, back to the internet thing with Ubuntu. Well, I put in the jaunty jackalope here a while back, and goddamn, they actually figured that part out. I was using the Mad Wi-Fi driver. It's not so bad, but still, the interface is so clumsy, so screwed up, that it's just hard to work with. Now, I mean, if you really are serious about, knocking Windows, as far as, king of the operating systems out the way, make your fucking operating system a lot like Windows. But, I mean, we'll make a crash every 5 minutes? Look, I've been running Vista for 2 years and it has never crashed, so fuck you. No, easy to use, familiar. Make it familiar, if they want to get it from Windows, they're not going to want to learn a whole new operating system. They want to do something that's fairly familiar. That's how you do it. You make it familiar. You make it look like Windows. You make it act like Windows. And I don't mean that stupid barrel interface. I mean the whole thing. I mean, just take one. Just take one distribution and work with that. Put all your effort into that one. And all the others will copy you, obviously, because that's what they do anyway, because that's what Linux found that being. Some homogenous piece of shit operating system where everybody copies each other, and they all congratulate themselves for doing a good job. And at the same time, they don't want to listen to their detractors. Now here's the real acid test as far as Linux goes. And this is why, it's still why I consider it a piece of shit. Corporate use. I mean, on the front end where productivity is involved. The vast majority of all these corporations don't use Linux for that very reason, because it's not productive in that aspect. See, they don't want to have their people up there fumbling around with an unfamiliar operating system, having to get online every 20 minutes to solve a little fucking problem, and have to spend 2 hours trying to hunt down the solution to their problem. And that's why. Now, I want you to think about this. You see, Linux is free. You can get Ubuntu, Kubuntu, SUSE, Mandriva, and a few others, and they're all free. Now, doesn't that strike you as odd that all these corporations who spend billions of dollars a year collectively on licensing fees to Microsoft are not using a free operating system? Doesn't that strike you as saying, what's wrong with this picture here? It does to me. And that's because they don't want to waste a bunch of time, with a shitty-ass operating system and having to spend hours and hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get it configured right so everyone can use it. Evidently, you Linux people haven't quite figured that part out yet. And I sincerely mean this. I would rather pay for Windows, and I would rather use a shitty-ass Windows distribution, such as Windows 98, or even Mistake Edition, what officially is referred to as Millennium Edition. I would rather use those than any distribution of Linux you care to name. See, I won't download Linux anymore because it's not worth wasting a CD on, as cheap as they are. What, 75 cents, 50 cents? Yeah, I see no reason to waste a perfectly good CD on a shitty-ass operating system.